Hi, today from Willemstad in Curaçao. Today we will talk about the difference in attitude towards money between poor people and rich people. Behind me you can see the Handelskade. This is the postcard view of Curaçao. This side of Willemstad is called Punda and the other side is called Otro Banda, and there are some cruise ships waiting. I am here on a floating bridge. We'll talk about that later. Stay with me till the end of this video. There will be a contest and something to win. Let's start with this statement. If you are an adult and you are poor, don't blame others or circumstances for being poor. This is only the result of what you have thought, the result of your choices and your actions in your life. Of course, if you are a kid, you may blame your parents, you may blame the circumstances for being poor, but not as an adult. There is, of course, something like mental slavery, and I will talk about that in the future. But slavery was ruled out over 150 years ago. And nowadays, everybody is free to make choices in his life. Each and every one of us is the creator of his own fate. And if you think somebody else is responsible for you being poor, or any circumstances are responsible for that, these are just excuses. Don't deceive yourself. You lie to yourself if you think like that. In reality, everybody in our today's society is able to achieve great wealth. And if you don't believe it, check out the videos I will connect here about billionaires who started in much harder circumstances that you did, and they went from zero to billions in their lifetime. So being poor or being rich, it's not only the balance on your bank account, it is your mental attitude. This is a mental attitude of being poor or the mental attitude of being rich. By the way, observe the bridge behind me, the floating bridge on pontoons, the Queen Emma Bridge, that will close shortly. You see, it's floating and it's closing, so people can walk through that. I will refer to that later. And today I will tell you 4 differences in thinking between poor people and rich people. And as I said, being poor and being rich, the balance on your bank account, your net worth, if you are poor or if you are rich, is only the consequence of your mental attitude towards money. It's the consequence of your thoughts, of your choices and your actions. And one of the main elements is your mental attitude towards money. There is attitude that poor people have, and there is attitude that rich people have. And if you have the attitude of poor people, you will never be rich. If you have the attitude of rich people, then wealth is just the consequence of that. And I will give you 4 differences now. The first difference: poor people like to spend money, and rich people enjoy making money. And I will give you a quote from Frank Hasenfratz that I have interviewed for my upcoming book, The $1 Billion Secret. Frank Hasenfratz is a Canadian billionaire, the founder of Linamar, and I will read to you what he told me. I like to make money. It's great pleasure. I don't get pleasure in spending money. This is the attitude of billionaires. This is the attitude of rich people. The second difference: poor people think of riches, of wealth as something indecent, as something immoral. as something bad. And poor people very often relate to religions and to some moral norms. They may say rich people are greedy, they are bad people, they want more and more, they can't get enough, and so on and so on. And the thing is, if you think rich people are bad people, if you think they are immoral, then you will never be rich in your life, because your subconscious mind will sabotage you. Of course, nobody wants to be a bad guy, a bad person. Everybody wants to consider himself having a high moral standard. So if you think rich people are bad, you will never become rich, because on the way your subconscious mind will tell you you shouldn't get rich. It's bad. It's immoral. On the other hand, rich people, they don't see anything wrong about having a lot of money, about being rich. On contrary, they think the money they have is an award, it's a recognition for what they have performed in their life, for the value they have created, for all the work they have done in their life. So they consider their wealth to be something that they have earned through their effort, through their discipline. Now the bridge is opening again. You will see this block on the first ponton. There are like two engines on both sides. One is activated to open the bridge, and on the opposite side it's activated to close the bridge. So it's just floating construction, and it's like a ponton moving on the water and moving the bridge with it. Talking about the bridge, let's come to the third point, and I will tell you the story of this bridge because it's quite interesting. This is a unique construction. It's kind of it's a floating bridge that opens, and you will see it will just float to the other side of the bay here. It's like the bay opening here between the two parts of Wilhelmstad, between the Punda and Odra Banda. And this bridge was constructed by a great engineer who, by the way, was also an ingenious businessman. I may talk about that in another video. In the end of 19th century. It is called Queen Emma Bridge. Queen Emma was the Queen of Netherlands in the end of 19th century, and Curaçao was a colony of Netherlands. Now it's closing again. It was just slightly open to get the small boat through. Sometimes big boats, big ships go through, then it opens completely to the other side of the bay. No other bridge in the world has the same construction. This works with the same principle as this one. The bridge was constructed in 19th century, and it was pretty costly. So the constructor, the constructing company, wanted to get the money back for the construction of the bridge, and they were charging the carriages that go through the bridge 25 cents until on cent, and the pedestrians 2 cents to go one way through the bridge. It was pretty costly. It is like maybe $2, maybe $5 in today's money. And of course, only people with money could afford to go through the bridge. It was the first bridge that connected the both sides of the town, and it shortened the way considerably, because otherwise you would need to go around the bay like 20-30 kilometers maybe, and here you could just walk through that. But they wanted to make a relief to to poor people in the town, and they say if somebody is barefoot, he or she apparently is poor, so he or she can walk through the bridge for free. It was just a relief for poor people, but the consequence of that decision surprised everybody. You will wonder about that, but when you learn about the differences between poor people thinking and rich people thinking, you will understand what it happened like that. So what happened? Poor people started to borrow shoes in order to pay to walk through the bridge, because they wanted to show to other people that they can afford it. And rich people started to take the shoes off in order to walk through the bridge for free. And here we come to the third difference between how poor people think about money and how rich people think about money. And it is, poor people spend money for others to consider them to be rich. They want to look like rich. They want to be perceived rich. And for that, they want to spend money. And rich people prefer to look as if they were poor whenever they can save money. And I can give you here an example of Peter Hargreaves, the founder of Hargreaves Lansdowne, the largest investment services company in the UK. He is a billionaire, and I have interviewed him 2 or 3 years ago, and he drives an 8-year-old Toyota Prius because he says it is economical, it doesn't cost much money, it saves me money, and I don't need to prove anybody anything. I don't need to drive an expensive car. And he's a billionaire. So this should make you think. And the last difference I want to tell you, maybe there are more differences, maybe I have forgotten about something important. Share your thoughts about that, share your ideas about that in the comments. The last thing I want to share with you is this. Poor people think money is there to be spent. So they think if they earn money, if they make money, they should spend it on themselves, on their pleasure, on consumption. And rich people look differently at money. They consider money as something to build on. This is the raw material to build something, to invest, and in consequence to multiply. I often encounter that in comments, and you will see whenever somebody asks a question, all these billionaires, what do they need all that money for? These questions come from the poor mindset. These questions come because the people who ask these questions think, well, he needs to consume all that money, he needs to spend all that money on himself. How can he spend all that money? No, they don't spend that money. They use that money to build great companies for 10,000, hundreds of thousands employees that build great products, that develop our society, that push the progress in our society. This is what money is for. Private spending is only a minuscule part of the money, of the value they have created. And this is the difference between poor people thinking and rich people thinking. Dushi means honey on Curacao. People address each other with dushi in every sentence. This is the most used word here. I can see you like this video, so please subscribe below this video and hit the bell button in order not to miss my other videos. I talk a lot about money. I talk about how the most successful entrepreneurs in the world think and act, how the self-made billionaires in our world think and act. I have interviewed 28 of them, and on this channel I share their wisdom. I also talk a lot about doing the impossible and about cryptocurrencies. I invite you to share your thoughts about the topic in that video in the comments below. Give me more examples of the attitude rich people or poor people have towards money. Maybe something you have experienced yourself or you have read about. Share this video with your loved ones, with your friends. One day they will thank you for that. And among the best comments, among the best shares, I will give away one copy of the book I have written with Brian Tracy, the best business teacher in the world, the best personal performance trainer in the world. A special edition of that book, it looks like that, and I will give you my personal dedication. So if you like this video, you will probably like my other videos. I encourage you to watch them. Here you will find some of my best videos. That's it from the Caribbean. Have a fantastic day. Let's do something extraordinary today.